What's going on, everybody? What's drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I want to say what's up to everybody. I hope you all are doing well. As you come in, shout out the city you're from. Let me know what city you're from. Also, shout out your B1 status. Everybody here that's Black first, put a B1 in the chat. And I want to say hello to Howell and CJR and Wooly, Will from Greenville, South Carolina. I see you're already in the chat. And today we're going to talk to Mr. Jullien Gordon, who is just a buddy and a great guy and an honored guest to the platform. And we're going to talk about little things like how to spend the rest of your life living rent free and how to truly hack a house to benefit not just yourself but also your family for many generations to come. So without further ado, I'd like to ask my brother Jullien, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Doc. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's always great to have you, man. So let's start, I guess, from the beginning. You're in Brooklyn right now. Is that where you're living, or is that where you're visiting?
No, I currently live in currently live in Atlanta, excuse me. But been all over. But my first triplex was here in Brooklyn, New York, and that first triplex got me to rent and mortgage freedom and literally changed the financial trajectory of my life. In these times that we're in, what people say is a recession. The biggest expense in your life is going to be housing, whether that's rent or a mortgage. Right. And so if with one single financial move, you can get rid of your housing expense for the rest of your life, it can literally change everything for you, because $1,000 a month saved every single month at 6% interest would lead you to be a millionaire over 30 years. So literally, this is the most single powerful financial move that somebody can make, is getting rid of their housing expense, acquiring a cash flowing asset, getting all the tax benefits from it, getting the depreciation on their tax savings from it, and then as well as the appreciation. There's no other financial vehicle that allows you to have those four benefits.
Well, you know what, man? I'll tell you what, in case y'all, how many of y'all, give me a yes or no in the chat if you've seen Jullien before. Jullien is, such a smart guy. I met him in 2017. And this, I can say, has been one of my most significant friendships. He's a great guy, smart guy, honorable dude, very pro-Black, and has just done some amazing work. And I want to say that publicly so everybody hears that.
Chief. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah, for sure, man.
Doc, we're at since I started the work with you about 4 years ago and started doing this work in terms of multifamily real estate, we've helped 762 people close on their first multifamily home nationwide. Actually, that's 764 because 2 more closed today. So 764 people closed on their first multifamily home and achieve rent and mortgage freedom. And if you average that at about $350,000 per home, we've helped our people acquire about $267 million worth of multifamily real estate, $250 million worth of real estate acquired in the past 4 years. And so it's really important for me to measure economic impact. It's not for me just about the transfer of information. It's actually about the transformation of our people. And that's why I'm so keen on tracking the metrics. And the only metric that really matters to me is how many of my students get to the closing table. And we're doing a good job right now. We crossed a milestone, which you were at, 300, which is how many people Harriet Tubman freed during the course of her life. She made 19 trips below the Mason-Dixon line and freed about 300 people over the course of a decade. So you were at the gala in New Orleans where we celebrated our 300th closing, and that was just in July. And so now we're at 764, and our goal is to get to 3,000, which would be $1 billion worth of real estate that my students have acquired.
Wow. Can everybody clap for that real quick in the chat, because I think it's significant. $250 million worth of real estate acquired for Black people. Yeah. I think that's beautiful. And what really makes me happy about that is, it reminds me of something you and I were talking about off the air. We tend to look at the Black folks on TV, and we look up to that. We look up to the celebrities, and we think that they're the ones who are the economic champions for the community, the guy that gets the NBA contract or the actor that gets the big movie role. But, most of them, I don't think any of them has gone out and helped Black folks acquire $250 million in real estate. Even people that have made, 10 times that amount in their career, maybe their movies have generated 10 times that amount at the box office for other communities, right? But they can't say in my hood, and when we talk about our hood, we're talking about the B1 hood. You've got $250 million worth of economic power by yourself. I think we should. Yeah. I want to slow talk that part, because I think that's extraordinary. I need everybody to go ahead and acknowledge that. Man, that's beautiful. So what drove you to have that vision in terms of, because you could have done a lot of things after graduating from UCLA. You went to, was it UCLA and Stanford? Is that right? Yeah, you know, you went to UCLA, Stanford. The door was wide open for you to go and to sort of take a traditional route and do what everybody else
Yeah.
does. But you came back to your community to do this. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great question, man. You know, I come from privilege. I'm the son of two doctors, so I had a lot of stuff provided for me growing up. But I used to play baseball at this field called Greenman in East Oakland, and I also played at Defirmary Park in West Oakland, where the Black Panthers used to organize. And so, despite my upper middle class upbringing, I was always connected to you know, to the ground floor where my people were struggling. So I never felt disconnected. Like Jack and Jill, that wasn't for me, you know. There were a lot of people who were in my social status in class who went that route, and I felt like that was like a separation from the rest of the people, the talented 10th trying to separate itself. But my heart never went that way. My heart went for the mass of our people, and I realized that a lot of people didn't have the privilege that I had. And you know, it says, to whom much is given, much is expected. And so I've always just wanted to take the privilege that I've had and the power that I've had and the resources that I've had and try to make them available to people who didn't have them. I didn't just want more for myself. And honestly, as I think about it, it's a great question. I don't know where that drive came from for me to contribute and serve in this way. Like you said, I could have became a consultant. I could have became a banker. I could have just took the road less the road most traveled and just done those things. But for whatever reason, my path hasn't gone that way, and I'm glad it hasn't, because I've been able to have a lot more impact and make a lot more money and than if I had chosen the path that was actually laid out for me. And I think everybody has to come to a point in their life where they make that courageous decision to deviate from the path that's actually laid out for you, the one that's predictable, and walk your own path, the road less traveled, which I believe is your God-given purpose. My goal every day is just to be in alignment with my Creator and do what I was called to do. And I just know that when I do that, I must succeed. Like, success is guaranteed when you're in alignment like that. And this is my purpose: is to free my people, and in various ways, not only on the real estate side, but also on the financial spirituality side, helping them recalibrate their relationship to money. Many belief systems that we have around money as Black people, in terms of having to work twice as hard. We know that the hardest working person does not win in this game of money, right? It's actually the person who makes money work the hardest, which is complete opposite, right? We've been taught that the most education, and we are, as Black people, the most educated. As a result, we are the most in debt to the educational system. But that was liberal arts education, right? Liberal arts education will cost you, right? What we teach at the Black Business School and the Freedom School is liberation arts education. Liberation arts education will free you. So it's not that you shouldn't get educated and that you need to stop learning. It's about, what are you learning, and is what you're learning actually going to free you in any way? And so everything that I learned that has freed me to walk in my God-given purpose is what I give back and teach to the people.
Everybody, in case you just came in, I'm speaking with Jullien Gordon. Jullien Gordon is from the Freedom School. He's also been working with us in the Black Business School for many years as our real estate dean. And he is here to talk about how to live rent-free for the rest of your life. And by the way, Jullien's doing a free training in the Black Business School on Friday night at 8 p.m. Jullien, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And if you'd like to join, just go to theemancipationequation.com. The URL is right there on the screen. You could join us on Friday, and I'll be there just for a minute. I'm going to pass the ball to Jullien, let him dunk it, because I just really believe deeply that as Black people, we should really understand why guys like Jullien are the heroes in your community. And I need y'all to really understand that. You know, I know you're tempted to look at basketball players and actors and all that. This brother created $250 million in real estate economic value, real estate ownership in our community. This is not, I don't know of a single celebrity anywhere who can say that they've done that. There's no actor, nothing, no famous person out there on TV that has done that for you. There are people who've made $1 billion for Hollywood. There are people who made a couple $1 billion for white and Jewish communities. But when you talk about being B1, that means taking your talent and applying it to the people that you love. You know, if you get food, you feed your family first, you feed your hood first, then you feed the world. We're trained to do it the opposite, Jullien. It seems like we feed the world and then we give our hood the scraps. right? So right. So let me ask you this, man.
Yes,
I
sir.
want to get your take on this too. Did you see that story with that NBA star John Morant, who just got suspended? And I did a whole long podcast episode about it yesterday. And he's got a $300 million contract.
Yeah,
He's on the video. He's kind of flashing the gun and flexing for the gram, and now he's suspended. And I was explaining to everybody that when you look at things like compound interest, that just investing a small percentage of his wealth, he easily could have been a billionaire by the time he's done. He could still do it, right? He's 23 years old, and I don't think we understand the magnitude of what's thrown away when your mindset's not right and your culture's not guiding you to economic success. Did you
yeah.
have any thoughts on that? Because I know you have a lot of profound thoughts on that generational legacy kind of issue, that generational wealth issue, and not fumbling the bag. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah. So my thought is he's 23 years old. And we see these people on TV, and we see them in the NBA and things of that nature, and we think that they're grown men. And the reality is that they're not. And in many ways, if I would have got a bag like that in my early 20s, I probably wouldn't have half of it today, just because of the maturity, right? Because I didn't have the financial awareness that I have today. And so oftentimes we look in the rearview mirror and say, I would have done this with that. But at 23 years old, some of us were acting a fool, from a fatherhood standpoint, at this point, you as a father, and I know his father shows up to the games, but where are you in between the games? At this point, you have to remove your son from all interactions with his social circle. I mean, it just comes down to that point. He is 23 years old, and he is an adult, and he can make his own choices. But he has the ability to change the financial legacy of not only this generation, but literally 5 to 6 generations down if he plays this right. The way he plays basketball, he may have a short career. So we want to get that guaranteed money. And actually use it to create generational wealth. We know the time value of money. We know that wealth is built over time. And so when you can get a bag like that and you can grow it at 10 to 20% year by year, we know that that's just going to guarantee your wealth long term. So he's young. And he wants to be cool, and it's going to cost him, unfortunately. And it hasn't been situations and stories like this, but when you look at some of the greatest or most wealthy NBA players, their wealth actually came after their careers, when they started using their mind and not their body. Whether we're talking about Shaq, we're talking about Jordan, we're talking about who else? Shaq, Jordan.
Well, I know as quiet as kept, Jamal Mashburn.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't know about him, but he played
Yeah,
in the NBA for years, saved and invested a lot of his money, and began to make insane amounts of money once he left basketball.
yeah.
Junior Bridgman's another one.
Oh,
I think.
Magic was the other one
Oh,
crossing.
Magic. There we go.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So you ultimately you do make, if you play it right, ultimately you make more money with your mind than you ever can with your body. Now, if you could make a lot of money with your body for a short period of time, whether that's in the NBA, whether that's in the NFL, and then you can actually, that the long-term game is not how long can I play this game, right? But how quickly can I store up enough capital to actually go make bigger plays using the power of my mind and my influence and my celebrity, then that's ultimately the goal. But he's going to leave himself with less capital if he continues to make choices like this.
Yeah, it's one of those conversations, in my view, about, or in terms of lessons, about sort of thinking about the people around you, and whether or not that's good social capital. And sometimes that social capital, if it's negative, can deplete from your financial capital, and then also cultural capital, right? You look at different cultures. I saw a video by an Asian guy, and I think the video title was literally like the ancient Chinese secret to saving, right? So
Mhm.
this man was literally referencing economic culture that goes back thousands of years. Right? And we're developing that culture. Like, for example, I have my new book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, and
Mhm.
you have Powernomics. And I know you've written books. Give me the titles of the books, by the way. What?
Yeah. So book is my most recent book, Rich and Righteous: Spiritual Secrets to Mastering Money, Manifestation, and Your Mind. And this really talks about money being a spiritual substance and stored energy, and how to change our relationship with money. Because, if we give a whole bunch of wealth strategies to a poverty consciousness, none of them will take root. So this is really about creating the mindset to be able even to receive these divine ideas and these nuggets that you give that are out here with financial literacy. So financial literacy right now is a whole bunch of information, and a lot of people are getting overwhelmed with the information, and they can't receive it because their mind, the subconscious soil of their mind, is not ready to receive it all. And on top of that, not everybody can master all these domains. You are a rare breed, Doc, and you can go deep in many different domains when it comes to classes, but most people will never have the degree of mastery or the time freedom that you have to be able to dig deep and study those. You've been studying these things for 30 years now, right? Or even longer. And so everybody needs to find their three forms of income. They need to find their highest yielding active income that still allows them to have joy. They need to find a semi-passive stream of income, and then they need to have a passive stream of income. You need to find an asset class for each one of those. And if you can get that trifecta down, right, then it's really, really powerful. This is why I love multifamily real estate in particular, is because it fits the semi-passive at first when you're doing owner occupied, when you're doing house hacking, which I know we're going to talk about. And then as your portfolio scales, then you can move that portfolio into fully passive as you hire a property manager to now oversee that entire portfolio. And that check just comes to you without you having to deal with anything. So we want to take our active income, we want to turn it into semi-passive income. We want to grow in that asset class, and then turn that semi-passive income into 100% passive income. Passive income is what you make without trading time for money, and passive income is what you can exchange and pass down to the next generation.
Man, I like that a lot. I mean, and I want everybody to know, speaking with Jullien Gordon from the Freedom School, and also he's partnering with us in the Black Business School. And we're going to be doing an event, a live event called the Emancipation Equation: How to Live Rent-Free for the Rest of Your Life. It's going to be Friday at 8. It's free to the community in the Black Business School. So feel free to go to theemancipationequation.com. Also, at my website, boycewatkins.com. I put the link there too, in case you all go there. And in addition to that, speaking on Jullien's point, I have a training in there called How to Make Money Without Working. And one of the things, Jullien, it seems that people don't understand is that we grow up just brainwashed to believe that you work until you die. And not only do you work until you die, but you don't even get ahead with all that work.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that, and I think that, the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and the wealthy elite, they put that system in place, that thinking in place, so that we're working to sort of build the wealth of these wealthy families, the people in control, and they're sitting back, in the yacht with lemonade, watching us work to generate wealth for them. And I thought about something today in terms of just, when you're working, how much do you have to show for it, right? And what I mean by that is, I think about all the years that a lot of us spend working our butts off. I mean, working till we're tired every single night, living paycheck to paycheck. You get money, you spend it either on your bills or at the mall or whatever you're doing, and then you run out of money, and then you got to go back to work again so you can get more money. It's like eating food that just goes through your body. So that made me think about the difference between something very basic in economics or in accounting. They have a term called expense, and then they have the term capitalization. And so when you capitalize something, that means that you put money into it, but it's building something else, right? It's like putting water in a bucket, right? Whereas an expense is like running water down the drain, right? So you expense your money, you run out of money, then you got to go back and get some more money. Whereas if you're capitalizing even a small percentage of the income, right? Just putting the little drops in that bucket becomes full. And next thing you know, you've got something to show for all that hard work. And if you think about that, man, that's very depressing, right? Imagine if you're running a marathon every single week for 20 years and nobody keeps track of how many miles you run. You're just exhausted, and you get no credit for all the hard work. But then compare that to, like, you run a marathon every week and they document your miles. And then after 30 years, you can say, I've ran, 35,447 miles, and they pay you, $100 a mile. Well, then you're wealthy. Why? Well, because you worked hard and you capitalized something, as opposed to the other scenario where you got no credit for anything. So I think that shift in mindset is important. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, most people in our community are going to die with some clothes, some electronics, and furniture. That's all they're going to own. If they don't do something different, all they will own is some clothes, some electronics, and some furniture. And so when you're talking about that, we have to realize that for some of us who are in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you know that a newborn baby who was just born in the past 30 seconds has a higher net worth than some individuals who are listening right now.
I knew you were going to say something like that. You always do that. You know that, right? That's your superpower. You'll say some stuff that'll just like slap you in the face. So go ahead, man. Say that again.
A newborn baby who was just born in the last 30 seconds has a net worth of 0, has a higher net worth than some of us who have been on this planet for decades. Make that make sense.
And the baby's done no work at all. You've
Done
been
no
working your
work at
whole life.
all. Done no work at all. So how do we end up negative? How do we end up negative? And that's because we don't understand the power of assets over liabilities. And you look at you say you can't afford this liberation arts education. You can't afford the programs in the Black Business School. You can't afford to go buy that book. You can't afford to take time to read that book, etc. But at the same time, if I go look in your closet, you have Italian family. You have clothes with Italian families' names on it, hanging up, while your family is behind you struggling. In a closet that you don't even own because you're renting. You have red bottoms, but your bank account is bleeding. You got a Coach bag, but you need a life coach or a financial coach. You have 2 to 3 pairs of Jordans, but you don't have $2,300 in your bank account. From a lot of us, our wealth is in our closets. If you just went and liquidated everything in your closet and you just wore a black shirt or a white shirt and just basic outfit for the next year, you could take the money that you put into your closet, into your shoes, into your purses, and you could start investing in the greatest stock of all, which is yourself, and look up 1, 2, 3 years from then based on that money, and you would have multiplied and have more than enough to buy all those things back times 10. But instead, we are trying to look rich instead of be rich. Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, they drove Honda Accord. They drove Honda Accords. Guess what I drive, Doc? A Honda Accord.
Yeah, D1, our mutual friend, he drives. He for years he drove a '98 Honda Accord and rapped about it.
Yep,
that's why I love that guy.
I had a 2000 Honda Accord till 2018. I had 10 multifamily doors before I had a new 4-door car. Some of y'all got nicer cars than me. You have nicer houses than me. You have nicer phones than me. You have nicer clothes than me. But would you trade all of that for my balance sheet? Would you buy my balance? Would you trade for my balance sheet? That's what Instagram will not show you, right? Instagram doesn't show you somebody's balance sheet. They show you all of their expenses, but they don't show the balance sheet. You can't see somebody's net worth on Instagram. And those who are out there showing their net worth usually don't have any net worth. And kudos to those who actually are showing it and have. I celebrate abundance in all forms, but most of the people who are actually showing or trying to look rich, their net worth is actually negative.
Wow. Well, you know what, man? The reason I put those luxury brands up on the screen is because many of those brands are owned by a guy named Bernard Arnault, and I think he's worth mentioning in this conversation because he is, in case you all don't know, he's the richest man on the planet. His family's worth about $200 billion, and in fact, I believe that the show Succession is built on like a hybrid between his family and the family of Donald Trump. I think they probably got the dysfunction from the Trumps, and then the wealth part from Arnault, and one of the things, the reason I brought up Bernard Arnault and his family is because Bernard Arnault, the way I listened to this expose on his life, Jullien, and the way he engages with his children, and it's almost like he took your class. It's almost like he learned from some of these conversations, or that he could either be a teacher or a student in some of the things that you and I do. What he does actually is he meets with his children regularly, and they have meetings, and he'll ask them questions and train them because he's literally making like 200, 300-year plans for his economic empire. He understands that one of his greatest assets is his family,
Yeah.
and one of his children just took over, I think, Dior, or is it? I don't know if it's Dior or Christian Dior, or if that's. I think that is that. I don't keep up with the luxury brands,
I don't
but
have any of it in my
right. I
closet.
don't buy none of that stuff.
In
But
fact, Doc, I don't think I don't know if they're actually wearing any of it themselves.
I don't think they do, man. I think that they're probably like baffled that people will overspend on that stuff. And so he let his daughter take over one of his $7 billion companies. I'm gonna tell you, man. I think for black folks, us as black men, I take tremendous pride in knowing that I have something as a man that I can leave behind
Yeah,
that will keep my kids from having to work unless they want to. Right? Of
yeah,
course, everybody should work to get better at something, but it's one thing to work because you want to versus having to work because you have to.
yeah.
What are your thoughts in terms of, I attended your generational wealth conference, which was extraordinary, by the way,
Thank you.
and I loved it. And why did you call it the generational wealth conference? And what are your thoughts on generational wealth in terms of what we should be thinking about for the future of our families and community, et cetera?
Yeah, great question. So, Proverbs 13:22 says a good man and woman, given that we have so many amazing matriarchs in our community
Yes.
nowadays, and women are doing so well on the economic front, a good man or woman leaves an inheritance to their children's children, right? And so that means that, as you said, we have to think beyond just our generation and our lifetime, and even beyond the next generation. We have to start thinking 3 generations down. What I'm finding, and based on the data, that 80% of millionaires are first generation, meaning that they're self-made. And so what does that communicate, Doc? It means that most people weren't handed down wealth from their family, or if they did, it gets lost in the next generation. Why? Because they only handed down the asset and they did not hand down the mindset. And so
Yes.
for me, regenerational wealth is what I call it, is generational wealth where you're passing down the mindset and the asset so that when the next generation gets the baton, they get 2 batons and they're able to pass those 2 batons to the next generation. If you just pass down the asset, it'll likely be gone but within 1 generation, because without the proper education, people will see cash as value. Oh yeah, just sell grandma's house. Let's just split it 3 ways. Sell that brownstone in Brooklyn with $900,000 in equity. Let's split that 3 ways, $300,000. If those 3 siblings do not know what to do with that $300,000, right? They make bad investments. One of them gets a car. They put it into multi-level marketing, or they try to start a business that they have not been educated to start, etc. All of a sudden, that 300,000 is gone for all of them, and just like that, all of grandma's work and all the grandpa's work, almost a century of appreciation in building that asset is gone within 1 generation. And so, for me, regenerational wealth is really about setting up your living trust and your assets in such a way that they can be passed down multiple generations and create regenerational wealth, not just 1 generational wealth, right? And so that's why I created that conference. And I realized that a living trust is really a line of code, and it's a line of code that really just dictates with the assets and the capital, as you said before, the capital that I've amassed with my life force energy. This is how I want it to go forth into perpetuity. So I'm not just going to give it to you at a certain age and say good luck and I wish you the best. No, I'm actually allocating maybe half to you, but then the rest is going to grow, and then that's going to go to the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. So really, one person can literally change their family tree and becoming the most fruitful branch on their family tree if they play their cards right. But it requires discipline, and when it comes to money, many people do not have discipline. You used that food analogy earlier. If you're not hungry but there's food in the refrigerator, what do people tend to do? They tend to eat, right? They tend to eat. Why? Because it's there. And the same thing with money. When even though you don't have anything to buy, if there's money just sitting there and you haven't put a name on it in terms of something that you can capitalize, all of a sudden you start spending it, and now that's how you get caught up in the rat race where now it's gone, now I got to go work for more, now it's gone, now I got to go work for more, etc. So ultimately we want first we have to work hard for money, but then the second step that most people fail at is making their money work hard for them, and they don't know they haven't mastered 1 or 2 asset classes to channel their resources to make sure that it's multiplying on their behalf.
Mm. Hey, everybody. In case you just came in, I'm speaking with Jullien Gordon from the Freedom School, and he also works with us extensively in the Black Business School. And we're talking about building generational wealth by going rent-free, investing in things like multifamily property. Jullien is doing a free training on Friday in the Black Business School. If you'd like to join us on Friday, you can go to theemancipationequation.com, or you can also go to my website, boycewatkins.com. The information is right there at the very top. Also, there's information to join us in Dallas. I'll actually be in Dallas this week for a 2-day Black Wealth Summit and Training Camp. So if you'd like to join us, I think there might be a couple tickets left. Feel free to fly in. You can hang out with us. This will be the last one I'm going to do for a while until we get to the All Black National Convention, which, by the way, I hope Jullien can make it. It's going to be October 20th in Atlanta. So if you're free, brother, I'd love to have you, man. And
what's the date, Chief?
October 20th, right there in Atlanta at the Marriott Marquis.
Okay.
And yeah, it does. So everybody, if you want to join us at the All Black National Convention, you can go to boycewatkins.com. There's information there as well. All right. So, and also one other thing too about the convention is that we are changing one thing about the format this year. We want to get a lot more of our speakers and panelists from you guys, from the audience, because I know some of y'all are just killing it. You're executing the strategies at a high level. You have families that need to be studied. Jullien, I'm telling you, man, I meet people that are in this tribe, in the B1 tribe, who are quiet millionaires. You see them all the time. Everybody thinks that they're these flashy people or people you see on TV. No, when I was in New Orleans, I think I was at your event, and I was crossing the street, right? And a guy, and I promise you, I'm gonna get to my last question because you're a busy man. I'm up here holding you all day, but I gotta tell the story. So I was in New Orleans, I'm crossing the street, and I hear, out the blue, like somebody said, "Dr. Boyce," and I look. And this guy, it's a brother in a pickup truck. And here's the thing. I was trying to get an Uber because I had to go to my next location. Mm-hmm. So we're talking, and it's awkward because he's across the street. He's at the red light, and we're trying to hurry up and have a conversation. And I said, "Hey, man, well, I need a ride around the corner. Can you give me a ride?" He said, "Yeah, hop on in." So me and my wife, Dr. Alicia, she was with me too. So she hopped in the back of the truck. I hopped in the front, not knowing this guy could have been a serial killer, but I don't care, man. He seemed cool. So we got in this car. Check this out. So he tells me, man, he says, I quit my job because of you. We started a family business. We started investing in real estate, and we just passed $1 million in assets about 3 years ago. And this guy, like this, I mean, he was a former, he was like not a cop, but like a federal marshal or something like that.
Yeah.
Just a regular person, regular job, not flashy, wasn't no Gucci in the truck. You know what I mean? And I think that's important for people to understand. Like, don't believe the hype. It's consistency and discipline and family that's going to be the backbone of our economic revolution. And I'd like to ask you about, if you want to comment on that, feel free. But I know with your, out of respect for your time, I was going to reserve myself to one question about this house hacking phenomenon that I saw on TikTok, where I read about it, and I'm like, oh, house hacking, what is that? And I'm thinking I'm going to read something revolutionary and new. And she says, so here's what I did. I bought a house and I couldn't afford the mortgage, so I rented out 2 rooms upstairs, and now I only pay $100 a month. I said, that's just like what Jullien teaches, except he teaches you how to actually have a profit and make positive cash flow from the deal. So can you kind of speak to just any of those things that come to mind based on what I just said?
Yeah. So what most people don't realize is that it's actually easier to buy a multifamily home than it is to buy a single family home. See, when you buy a single family home, people say, oh, well, my mortgage is less than what I was paying in rent. And that's cool. That's great. But your mortgage only covers principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. What it does not account for is CapEx, which is how much CapEx and repair reserves, which is how much maintenance you're going to have to put back into the house. And so when you account for the maintenance that you'll need to put into a single family home will ultimately cost you over 30 years, actually negative. And if it appreciates, right, then you may come up just a little bit. But at a 5.5% interest rate, Doc, on a $300,000 home with 3.5% down, you're going to pay $300,000 towards the principal, and you're going to pay $300,000 towards interest. So you're going to buy yourself a home, and you're going to buy your lender a home, right? At a 5.5% interest rate over 30 years, right? So a single family home is actually going to cost you over 30 years instead of actually be the asset that it was positioned to be in the American dream. What is really an asset is one that appreciates and creates cash flow. A single family home at no point will pay you, right, unless you move out or you start renting rooms there. So I teach multifamily real estate investing. My first triplex Bought it here in Brooklyn, New York. I was paying expensive rent in Brooklyn. The moment I acquired that property, I went from paying expensive rent in Brooklyn to now being paid expensive rent in Brooklyn. Why? Because the rents from the third floor and the second floor covered my principal, interest, taxes, insurance, capex, repairs, and vacancy rate, and left me with cash flow. So I was now living for free, and I was getting paid by that property, right? So, and that is not even to mention the tax savings, right? The principal pay down as each mortgage payment gets paid, and the appreciation on that property. Over the past 10 years, that property is appreciated by $500,000, just one property bought right. Okay. So what it means to buy right means that there's instant equity, meaning that you've locked in the contract at a price that is lower than it is actually valued. So if it appraises at 400,000, you got it at 380. You're stepping into $20,000 equity. Then we want the cash flow to be at least 12% cash on cash return based on how much money you put into the house for your down payment and for your closing costs and any repairs that you did. And then we want definite appreciation potential based on the 33 signs of gentrification that I created. So we don't just want you to get off this call and actually go buy real estate. We want you to buy right, and we want you to buy multifamily real estate, which eliminates your housing expense, provides you with cash flow forever, provides you with tax savings, and provides you with an appreciating asset. That is the ultimate goal. That's what house hacking is. That's where I started my real estate journey. I went on to expand my portfolio to over 40 doors because I did that one thing, right? And now I teach that all over the country. Again, I have 764 students. It was 62 at the beginning of the day, and now 764 students who have closed on multifamily real estate all across the country, acquiring about $267 million worth of real estate, $250 million worth of real estate in the past 4 years. And our target now is to get to $1 billion of real estate. That's the goal, and that's what I'm locked in on right now. And so we are inviting you to come to a free webinar on Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at theemancipationequation.com. That's theemancipationequation.com, where I'll be able to go deeper in on my PowerPoint pulled up, and I'm going to teach you how to finance, find, and finalize your first multifamily real estate deal. In terms of financing, I'm going to show you no to low money down payment programs that you can tap into, and also ones that don't require you to have great credit. A lot of you think that credit has been stopping you. In terms of finding deals, we do not look on Truly or Zillow. I'm going to teach you how to find off-market deals and how to tell the difference between a listing and a deal. You say, oh, I found a real estate deal. You don't know if it's a deal. You don't even know how to calculate cash on cash returns. So I'm going to teach you that. And then once you have the contract, finalizing the deal means that you actually negotiate the price down. You initially got the contract at 380, but there are techniques and strategies you can use to negotiate the price down to get it to 360, to get it to 350, so that that deal is sweeter and sweeter and sweeter for you. So I'm going to teach you all that on Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All of that is at theemancipationequation.com. So pull up pen and paper ready. Actually multiple pages of paper, because you're going to be dropping a lot of gems in the time that we have. So we would love to have you. And Dr. Watkins, just thank you for the platform. Thank you for the opportunity to share this particular aspect of wealth building. I believe that in addition to stocks, stocks and this go hand in hand. And I'm right now, to my knowledge, I'm the best teacher of this particular information in the country. So.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna tell you, I have so much respect for what you do, man. I think that you're my hero, man. You really are. I know that I know you reached out and you introduced yourself to me, man. But I saw first time it's funny, man. You just think about, because I've been doing the financial stuff for a little bit, man, and I just think about some of the highlights in terms of people when I met them the first time, and a little bit of pride in terms of kind of saying, okay, I saw that before some other people did, and I can tell you, man, and I want everybody to know this. You always were so on point, and even on that first day, I was just kind of I was just real impressed. I said, okay, let's try this. I want to work with this brother, and it's exciting to me because I think that the stuff you're doing, like, this is the real stuff, and I want everybody to just understand that. I know that the media will feed you a news story every week or two that makes you think that it represents some type of progress for our people, but it's really that so-called quiet work that's not overly flashy, but yet it's substantive. Yeah. That's making the difference. That's how your kids get to eat. That's how your kids and grandkids don't have to go and deal with the racism on the job every day. They don't have to deal with some of the economic oppression that occurs. This is real reparations that's happening right now. They're earning their reparations, and then when the reparations check does also come in, they're going to know exactly where to put it. So I want to say thank you very much to Jullien Gordon. I hope everybody will give him a digital round of applause. And I want to remind everybody, his event is Friday, May 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern. It is a right online, so you don't have to go anywhere. Also, if you happen to be in Dallas or want to fly in, that's what that weekend we're doing a Black Wealth Summit in Dallas. So feel free to join us there. You can go to BoyceWatkins.com to learn more about that. And also to join us on Friday night with the Jullien's event, just go to theemancipationequation.com. That is digital. You can do it from anywhere that you want. And we will make sure that your life is transformed. So thank you very much, brother. It's great to see you, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. 100%. All right. Have a good night, everybody. And we'll see you soon. Take care now. Peace.